Captain Li Wujin walked slowly across the bridge of the S Resilience. His black military boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. The ship was huge by Earth standards, but it looked like a small toy compared to what was coming toward them. Through space. Outside the big windows he could see stars everywhere like tiny diamonds on black cloth. But today those stars would witness something that had never happened before. Li Wujin was 42 years old and had been in space for 15 years. He had started as a young pilot flying small ships between Earth and the Moon, then he became a captain of cargo ships that carried supplies to Mars colonies. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. Today, he would face the most powerful alien army anyone had ever seen. The bridge was full of people working at their stations. Lights blinked on and off from dozens of control panels. The air smelled like metal and electricity. Everyone was trying to look calm, but Li Wujin could feel the tension in the room. They all knew what was coming. Park Da-Yun sat at the communications station. She was 28 years old with short black hair and quick fingers that never stopped moving across her keyboard. She had learned 12 different alien languages in the past 2 years. Her job was to talk to aliens and understand what they were saying. Today, that job was more important than ever. Park Da-Yun looked up from her screen. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. Captain, the alien ships are getting closer. They will be here in 30 minutes. I'm picking up their radio signals. They are talking to each other about us. What are they saying? Li Wujin asked. They think we are stupid, Park Da-Yun said. They are laughing about how easy this will be. One of them said, our ship looks like it was built by children with hammers. Li Wujin smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Let them laugh, he said. Sometimes the best weapon is being underestimated. At the tactical station, Lieutenant Commander Kim Min-ho was studying the enemy ships on his screen. Kim Min-ho was 35 years old and had studied alien military tactics for 6 years. He knew more about how aliens fought wars than almost anyone on Earth. His job was to figure out how to beat enemies that had better weapons and bigger ships. The screen showed 12 alien ships moving toward them in a perfect formation. Each ship was 3 times bigger than the Resilience. They had sharp edges and curves that made them look like giant sea creatures swimming through space. Their hulls were dark green with golden lines that glowed like lightning. Kim Min-ho shook his head as he watched them. Sir, they are using Formation Pattern 7. It is the standard Corvani attack formation for dealing with primitive enemies. They use it when they think the fight will be too easy to bother with complicated tactics. How do you know that? Li Wujin asked. Because we have been studying them for 3 years, Kim Min-ho said. We know everything about how they fight. We know their weaknesses. We know their habits. They do not know anything about us except what we want them to know. In the engineering section deep inside the ship, Chief Engineer Choi So-young was checking all the systems one last time. She was 40 years old and had designed half of the secret technology that made the Resilience special. The aliens thought they were looking at a simple metal ship with basic weapons. They had no idea what was really hidden inside the hull. Choi So-young spoke into her communication device. Captain, all systems are ready. The masquerade protocols are working perfectly. Their scanners are seeing exactly what we want them to see. As far as they know, we are running on old-fashioned fusion engines and carrying simple missile weapons, but that was not true. The real engines were hidden behind fake walls and false readings. The real weapons were disguised to look like cargo, containers and communication arrays. Even the hull was not what it seemed. What looked like plain steel was actually a revolutionary new material that could do things no alien had ever imagined. The Resilience had been built in secret over 5 years. The best scientists and engineers from every country on Earth had worked together to create something that looked ordinary but was actually the most advanced warship ever constructed. They had studied every piece of alien technology that had ever fallen to Earth. They had learned from it, improved it, and then created something completely new. Defense Coordinator Yoon Tae-min was watching the alien fleet through the long-range sensors. He was 38 years old and had once been a fighter pilot. Now, his job was to coordinate all the ship defenses when the battle started. He could see that the alien ships were loaded with weapons, plasma cannons that could melt mountains, energy shields that could stop nuclear weapons, armor that had never been pierced by any known weapon. Yuntaemin turned to the captain. Sir, they have enough firepower to destroy a small planet. If this was a normal fight, we would be dead in seconds, but this is not a normal fight, Li Wujin said. This is a fight between alien logic and human creativity. They think they know how space battles work because they have won so many of them. But they have never fought humans before. The main screen at the front of the bridge suddenly lit up with an incoming message. The image that appeared made everyone stop talking. It was an alien face unlike anything most of them had ever seen in person. The creature had golden scales that reflected the light. 4 bright yellow eyes looked out at them with what seemed like amusement. When it opened its mouth, they could see rows of sharp teeth. This was War Master HFY, commander of the Corvani 12th Battle Fleet. He had conquered 17 different star systems. He had destroyed hundreds of enemy ships. He had never lost a single battle. To him, the human ship in front of him was just another target to be eliminated. Primitive creatures of the 3rd planet, HFY said. His voice was translated by computer, so the humans could understand it. I am War Master HFY of the Corvani Empire. Your pathetic vessel is barely worth our notice. Look at it. It is ugly and crude like everything your species makes. Our ships are works of art. Our weapons are masterpieces of engineering. You cannot hope to stand against us. The alien paused, and his 4 eyes seemed to glow brighter. Surrender now, and we may allow some of your species to survive. You can work in our mining colonies. You can serve our warriors. It is a better fate than you deserve, but we are feeling generous today. Li Wujin looked around the bridge at his crew. Park Da-yoon was trying not to laugh. Kim Minho was shaking his head in disbelief. Yoon Tae-min was smiling like he had just heard a funny joke. These aliens had no idea what they were about to face. Li Wujin stood up straight and looked directly at the alien commander. War Master HFY, he said in a calm voice. Thank you for your generous offer. We have considered it carefully and we must decline. Also, we would like to inform you that you have entered restricted space without permission from Earth Defense Command. The alien 4 eyes went wide with what looked like shock. Then they narrowed into angry slits. Your arrogance will be your doom, flesh creature. You dare to speak to a war master of the Corvani Empire as if you were equals. We have conquered worlds that were 1,000 times more advanced than your mudball planet. We have weapons that can crack moons in half. We have armor that has never been scratched by enemy fire. HFY leaned forward until his scaled face filled the entire screen. Prepare to witness the true might of the Corvani Empire. When we are finished with your ship, we will visit your planet. Your cities will burn. Your people will kneel. And you will spend your last moments wishing you had accepted our mercy when it was offered. The transmission ended and the screen went dark. For a moment, the bridge was completely quiet except for the soft humming of the ship systems. Then Li Wujin turned to his crew with a smile that was both confident and dangerous. Well, he said, I think that went rather well. They are exactly as arrogant as we hoped they would be. Kim Min-ho, start preparing the surprise package. Park Da-yoon, record everything that happens next. The folks back home are going to want to see this. Choi So-young, begin powering up the real systems. And everyone else, get ready to show these aliens what human ingenuity looks like. When it is properly motivated, the crew began working at their stations with renewed energy. Outside the windows, the 12 alien ships were getting closer. Their weapons were charging. Their shields were powering up. They thought they were about to win the easiest battle in Corvani history. They had no idea they were about to learn why humans had survived and thrived on one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. They were about to discover that sometimes the best technology is not the most advanced technology, but the most unexpected technology. And they were about to find out that underestimating humans was the last mistake many enemies ever made. War Master HFY stood in the command center of his flagship, the Devourer of Worlds. The ship was massive beyond human imagination. It was 5 kilometers long and 2 kilometers wide. Its hull was made from living metal that could repair itself when damaged. Its weapons could destroy entire cities with a single shot. It was the pride of the Corvani Empire, and had never been defeated in battle. The command center was a work of art, the walls curved like the inside of a giant shell. Holographic displays floated in the air showing information about enemy positions, weapon status, and battle plans. The floor was made from polished stone that came from the first world the Corvani had conquered. Everything was designed to show the power and glory of the Empire. HFY was 7 feet tall with golden scales that marked him as a member of the warrior caste. His 4 eyes could see across multiple light spectrums. His claws were sharp enough to cut through steel. He had been fighting wars for 30 years and had never lost a single battle. To him, humans were just another primitive species that needed to be taught their place in the galaxy. Commander Veltar approached with the tactical analysis. Veltar was younger than HFY with silver scales that showed he was from the scholar caste. His job was to study enemy ships and find their weaknesses. He had analyzed hundreds of different alien technologies and always found ways to defeat them. Master, Veltar said, bowing his head in respect. The analysis of the human vessel is complete. The results are exactly what we expected. They are using primitive technology that is at least 200 years behind our own capabilities. Tell me everything. HFY commanded. Veltar activated a holographic display that showed a detailed scan of the human ship. The S Resilience appeared as a simple gray rectangle covered in basic sensor arrays and weapon mounts. To Corvani eyes it looked crude and hastily built, like something a child might construct from scrap metal. Their hull is made from simple steel alloys, Veltar explained. No exotic materials, no self-repairing systems, no adaptive armor. Our plasma cannons will cut through it like it is made of paper. Their shields, if they have any, are so weak our sensors cannot even detect them. What about their weapons? HFY asked. Primitive missile systems and basic energy weapons, Veltar replied. The kind of technology our empire was using 3 centuries ago. Their most powerful weapon appears to be some kind of nuclear warhead, but even that is ancient by our standards. Our point defense systems will destroy any missiles. They fire long before they reach our ships. HFY clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. And their engine simple fusion reactors, Veltar said. They can barely achieve half the speed of our slowest transport ships. If they try to run, we will catch them easily. If they try to fight, they will be destroyed quickly. This battle will be over in minutes. Around the command center, other Corvani officers were listening to the analysis. They had all fought in many battles against many different species. Some enemies had been strong. Others had been clever. A few had even been dangerous. But none had been as primitive as these humans appeared to be. Tech Master Corlon was responsible for the ship electronic warfare systems. He had studied the human communications and found them laughably simple. They are using basic radio transmissions, he reported. No quantum encryption, no psionic networks, no dimensional broadcasting. We can intercept and decode everything they say with ease. Weapons Master Brekthal controlled the ship's massive arsenal. He was eager to test his guns against a real target, even if it was a weak one. War Master, he said. Our plasma cannons are at full charge. Our gravitic torpedoes are armed and ready. Our ion disruptors are calibrated for maximum effect. We have enough firepower to destroy 50 ships like theirs. Shield Master Yexstar managed the ship defensive systems. The human vessel poses no threat to our shields, he announced. Even if all their weapons hit us at the same time, they would not be able to penetrate our outer defense grid. We could fight them with our shields at half power and still be completely safe. HFY walked to the center of the command room and looked at the tactical display. 12 Corvani dreadnoughts were arranged in perfect formation around the single human ship. Each dreadnought carried enough weapons to level a continent. Each one had shields that could stop the most powerful attacks. Each one was crewed by warriors who had trained their entire lives for battle. The humans had one ship with outdated, Technology and a crew that had probably never seen real combat. It was not even a fair fight. It was like watching a pack of hunting beasts surround a wounded prey animal. The outcome was already decided. Navigation-Master Zelketh reported their position. War Master, we are now in optimal attack formation. The human vessel is surrounded and has no escape route. Our ships are positioned to provide overlapping fields of fire. Even if they somehow survive the first volley, they will be destroyed by the second. HFY nodded approvingly. The Corvani military doctrine was simple and effective. Surround the enemy, overwhelm them with superior firepower, accept their surrender, or destroy them completely. It had worked against every species they had ever encountered. There was no reason to think it would fail against humans. Communication Master. HFY was monitoring human transmissions. War Master, he reported. The humans are sending messages to each other, but they are not encrypted. We can understand everything they are saying. They appear to be discussing tactical options, but their plans are primitive and ineffective. What are they saying? HFY asked. They are talking about something called Formation Delta 7, HFY replied. It appears to be some kind of defensive pattern. They are also mentioning weapon systems we have never heard of, but our analysis suggests they are probably just code names for their basic armaments. HFY laughed. It was a sound like metal scraping against stone. They think they can confuse US with secret code words. How pathetic. Even their attempts at deception are childish. The War Master walked over to a large window that looked out into space. He could see the human ship floating helplessly in the distance. It looked so small and fragile compared to his mighty fleet. Its hull was scarred and marked like it had been built in a hurry. Its weapons looked like toys compared to Corvani. Plasma cannons. This will be the shortest battle in Imperial history, HFY said to his officers. When it is over, we will broadcast the recording to every world in this sector. Let them see what happens to species that dare to resist the Empire. Let them learn that cooperation is the only path to survival. But even as he spoke, HFY felt a tiny nagging doubt in the back of his mind. The humans had seemed too calm during their conversation. Most primitive species showed fear when faced with Imperial might. They begged for mercy or tried to negotiate. These humans had simply declined his offer and told him he was trespassing. Either they were incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Given their primitive technology, HFY decided they were probably just stupid. Some species were too primitive to understand the danger they were in. They fought hopeless battles because they did not know any better. Sub-Commander Veltar approached again. War Master, all ships report ready for battle. Shall we begin the attack? Not yet, HFY replied. First, we will give them one more chance to surrender. It is traditional to offer mercy before battle. Even primitives deserve the opportunity to submit to Imperial authority. He activated the communication system and his image was transmitted to the human ship. He made sure to appear as intimidating as possible. His 4 eyes glowed with inner fire. His scales reflected the light like polished gold. His claws were extended to show his readiness for violence. Humans of Earth, he said in his most commanding voice, this is your final opportunity to surrender. You are surrounded by the most powerful fleet in this galaxy. Your single ship cannot hope to stand against us. Submit now, and your deaths will be quick and painless. Continue to resist, and we will make examples of you that will be remembered across the stars. The human captain appeared on his screen looking completely calm. Thank you for the warning, War Master HFY, he said politely. We appreciate your concern for our safety. However, we must respectfully decline your offer. Earth Defense Command has strict policies about surrendering to hostile forces. Then you have chosen death, the War Master snarled. All ships prepare for battle. Target their engines first. I want them crippled but alive so they can watch as we broadcast our victory to their homeworld. The 12 dreadnoughts began charging their weapons. Plasma cannons started glowing with deadly energy. Gravitic torpedoes armed themselves for launch. Ion disruptors calibrated their targeting systems. In moments, the most powerful weapons in the galaxy would unleash destruction upon the helpless human vessel. HFY smiled as he imagined the quick victory that was coming. The humans would learn the same lesson that 17 other species had learned before them. The Corvani Empire was unstoppable. Resistance was futile. Cooperation was the only path to survival. He had no idea that he was about to learn a lesson of his own. A lesson about the danger of underestimating an enemy. A lesson about the difference between advanced technology and clever technology. A lesson about why humans had survived on one of the most dangerous worlds in the galaxy and were now ready to survive in the most dangerous galaxy in the universe. Warmaster HFY raised his primary claw high in the air. Around him, the command center of the Devourer of Worlds buzzed with activity. Every officer was at their station. Every weapon system was charged and ready. Every targeting computer had locked onto the human vessel. This was the moment they had all been waiting for. All ships commence bombardment, HFY commanded. His voice echoed through the communication system to all 12 dreadnoughts. Target their engines first. I want them disabled but alive. They will serve as witnesses to the power of the Corvani Empire. Across the fleet, weapon systems activated with deadly precision. Plasma cannons that had been charging for the past 10 minutes reached full power. The energy contained in each weapon was enough to vaporize a small mountain. Gravitic torpedoes armed themselves with warheads that could tear apart the molecular bonds of any known material. Ion disruptors calibrated their beams to disrupt the electrical systems of the target. Vessel.weapons. Master Brechthal watched his displays with professional satisfaction. Warmaster, all weapons show green status. Targeting solutions are locked and confirmed. Energy levels are at maximum capacity. We will fire on your command. Fire, HFY ordered. Space erupted in brilliant light as 12 massive warships unleashed their fury simultaneously. Streams of superheated plasma lanced through the darkness like the breath of angry gods. Each beam carried enough energy to power a small city for a year. Each shot was aimed with mathematical precision at the human ship vulnerable hull. The plasma beams crossed the distance between the fleets in seconds. They struck the ESS Resilience exactly where the Corvani computers had predicted they would hit. The alien officers watched their displays, expecting to see massive explosions. They expected to see hull breaches and atmosphere venting into space. They expected to see the human ship crippled and helpless. Instead, they saw nothing. The plasma beams hit the human vessel and simply disappeared. There was no explosion, no hull breach, no visible damage of any kind. The energy that should have torn the ship apart just vanished as if it had never existed. The human ship continued floating in space, looking exactly the same as it had before the attack. Sub-Commander Veltar stared at his instruments in confusion. His scales had turned from silver to pale gray, which was a sign of shock among his species. Warmaster, he said in a voice that trembled slightly. Our sensors confirmed direct hits on the target. All weapons fired successfully. All targeting computers functioned correctly. But there is no evidence of damage to the enemy vessel. HFY 4 eyes narrowed to dangerous slits. Run full diagnostics on all weapon systems? There must be a malfunction somewhere. Weapons Master Brechthal was already working at his station. His claws moved rapidly across the control interfaces as he checked every system twice. Warmaster all. Diagnostics show green. Every weapon fired exactly as programmed. Every plasma beam reached its target. There are no system failures anywhere? In our arsenal. Then how is that ship still intact? HFY roared. His voice carried across the command center, making several junior officers flinch in fear. Our plasma cannons can melt asteroids. Our energy output is enough to crack a moon. How did a primitive human vessel survive a direct hit from 12 dreadnoughts? The answer to that question was hidden deep inside the S Resilience in a laboratory that did not appear on any official ship diagrams. Dr. Song Haijin sat at her monitoring station watching energy levels climb steadily on her displays. She was 34 years old and had 3 advanced degrees in theoretical physics. For the past 5 years, she had been working on the most Secret project in human history. The energy absorption grid is functioning perfectly, she reported to Captain Li Wu-jin over the internal communication system. We are getting a 72% conversion rate from their plasma weapons. A few more volleys and we will be at maximum charge capacity. What the aliens could not see was the network of exotic matter collectors built into the Resilience outer hull. The panels looked like ordinary armor plating, but they were actually composed of materials that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. When energy struck them, the collectors absorbed it, channeled it through quantum conduits, and fed it directly into the ship weapon capacitors. Dr. Song Haijin had discovered the theoretical basis for the absorption system while studying captured alien technology. She realized that most advanced civilizations used energy weapons because they were efficient and powerful. But energy weapons had one critical weakness. They were still just energy, and energy could be redirected if you knew how to do it. The humans had learned how to do it very well. Captain Li Wu-jin stood on the bridge of the Resilience, watching the alien fleet through the main display. His crew was working calmly at their stations, as if being shot at by 12 alien dreadnoughts was just another day at the office. In a way it was. They had been training for this moment for 3 years. Park Dae-yoon looked up from her communication. Station, Captain, I am intercepting alien transmissions. They are very confused about why we are still here. They are running diagnostics on their weapons and checking their targeting systems. They think something is wrong with their equipment. Let them think that. Li Wu-jin replied. Confusion is our friend right now. The longer they spend trying to figure out what went wrong, the longer we have to prepare our response, Lieutenant. Commander Kim Min-ho was studying the alien formations on his tactical display. So they are maintaining attack pattern 7 just as predicted. Their ships are arranged for maximum firepower but minimum maneuverability. They are positioned exactly where we want them to be. Chief Engineer Choi So-young. Voice came over the communication system from deep in the engineering section. Captain, all systems are charging normally. The masquerade protocols are still active. As far as their sensors can tell, we are still just a primitive vessel with basic technology. They have no idea what they are really facing, Defense Coordinator. Yoon Tae-min was monitoring the ship defensive systems. Sir, our true shields are still offline and hidden. We are taking all this damage on the absorption grid alone. When we activate the real defenses, they are going to get an even bigger surprise. On the alien flagship, Dekvar was becoming increasingly agitated. His golden scales were beginning to darken, which was a sign of rising anger among his species. He had never encountered anything like this in 30 years of warfare. Enemy ships were supposed to explode when hit by Corvani weapons. That was how battles worked. That was how the universe was supposed to function. Fire again, he commanded. All ships maximum firepower. If their hull is somehow resistant to plasma, try the Galactic torpedoes. Nothing can withstand a direct gravitational attack. The second volley was even more devastating than the first. Galactic torpedoes streaked through space-carrying warheads that could disrupt the fundamental forces holding matter together. When they struck the human ship, the weapons should have torn it apart at the molecular level. Instead, the torpedoes hit the hull, and their energy was absorbed just like the plasma beams had been. Dr. Song Haijin smiled as she watched her energy readings climb even higher. Excellent, she said to herself. Galactic weapons have a much higher energy density than plasma. We are now at 85% charge capacity. Just a few more shots and we can begin the demonstration. The demonstration was the code name for humanity's response to the alien attack. It had been planned down to the smallest detail by the best military minds on Earth. Every weapon system had been tested hundreds of times. Every tactical maneuver had been practiced until it was perfect. Every crew member knew exactly what they were supposed to do when the moment came. War Master Dekvar was pacing back and forth across his command center like a caged predator. His 4 eyes were blazing with frustration and his claws were fully extended. Nothing in his military training had prepared him for an enemy that could simply absorb his attacks without taking damage. Try the ion disruptors, he ordered. If we Cannot destroy their hull, perhaps we can disable their systems. The third volley consisted of focused beams of charged particles designed to overload electronic systems and shut down enemy ships. The beams struck the Resilience and were absorbed just like all the previous attacks. By now, the alien crews were beginning to panic. Some of the junior officers were whispering that they were facing supernatural forces. Captain Li Wu-jin decided it was time to end the first phase of the battle. Dr. Song, are we ready for the reveal? He asked. All systems show green, Captain, she replied. We are at full charge and all weapon systems are online. The masquerade protocols can be disabled on your command. Weapons Officer Han Jae-sung turned from his station. Sir, all targeting solutions are locked and confirmed. We have clear shots on all 12 enemy vessels. The surprise package is ready for delivery. Communication Officer Park Dae-yoon looked up from her displays. Captain, the aliens are starting to panic. Their transmissions are becoming more frantic. They are requesting instructions from their high command. I think they are beginning to realize they may have made a mistake. Li Wu-jin smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a predator that had been patient and was now ready to strike. Disable the masquerade protocols, he commanded. Show them what they are really fighting. Weapons Officer Han Jae-sung pressed the firing control with steady fingers. He was 31 years old and had trained on the secret weapon systems for 2 years. Every simulation, every test firing, every practice run had led to this moment. The moment when humanity would reveal what they were truly capable of. The space around the Resilience exploded into light, and energy as weapons that existed only in theoretical physics papers came to life. But these were not the crude missiles and basic energy beams the aliens expected. These were technologies that pushed the boundaries of what was possible in the known universe. The first weapons to fire were the gravity distortion cannons. They did not shoot projectiles or energy beams. Instead, they shot twisted space-time itself. The weapons created localized gravitational fields that could crush anything caught inside them. 3 of the alien dreadnoughts suddenly found themselves trapped in pockets of space, where gravity was 1,000 times stronger than normal. The Corvani ships began to crumple like tin cans squeezed by invisible hands. Their advanced armor meant nothing against the fundamental force of gravity. Their self-repairing hulls could not fix damage that was being caused by the warping of space itself. The 3 vessels collapsed in on themselves, until they were nothing but dense balls of compressed metal and organic matter. War Master Vek Vor watched in horror as 3 of his most powerful ships were destroyed in seconds. His 4 eyes could barely process what he was seeing. The human weapons were impossible. No species in the known galaxy had ever developed technology that could weaponize gravity itself. What sorcery is this? He roared. How did these primitives develop such weapons? But the humans were just getting started. The second wave of weapons to fire were quantum disruptors. These devices shot streams of particles that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The particles passed through normal matter as if it was not there because they were only partially in the same dimension as the target. When the quantum particles reached the core systems of their target ships, they suddenly shifted into full-dimensional phase. The particles materialized inside the alien vessels and began breaking down the molecular bonds that held their hulls together. 3 more Corvani dreadnoughts started coming apart from the inside as their own atoms forgot how to stick together. Commander Veltar was frantically working at his sensor station trying to understand what was happening. War Master, our shields are useless, he reported in a voice high with panic. The human weapons are passing through our defenses as if they do not exist. They are attacking us from inside our own ships. The most devastating weapon of all was something that Chief Scientist Cao Mi-young had developed in the deepest research bunkers beneath the mountains of Earth. She was 45 years old and had spent 20 years studying dark matter, the mysterious substance that made up most of the universe, but interacted with normal matter only through gravity. Ken Mi-young had found a way to weaponize dark matter. Her devices fired invisible projectiles made from the same stuff that held galaxies together. The dark matter bullets passed through all known forms of armor and shielding because they did not interact with electromagnetic forces. They only responded to gravity. When the dark matter projectiles struck their targets, they created gravitational anomalies that tore the alien ships apart from within. The weapons did not explode or burn or melt their targets. Instead, they created localized zones, where the laws of physics work differently. Inside these zones, matter behaved in ways that violated everything the Kravani thought they knew about how the universe functioned. 3 more alien dreadnoughts simply ceased to exist in any recognizable form. Their hulls twisted into impossible shapes. Their crew members were stretched and compressed by tidal forces that should not have been possible in normal space. The ships did not explode or burn. They just stopped being ships and became abstract sculptures of tortured matter. In less than 30 seconds, half of the most powerful battle fleet in Kravani history had been eliminated. The remaining 6 ships hung in space like wounded animals, uncertain what to do next. Their crews were in shock. Their commanders were paralyzed by fear. Nothing in their military doctrine had prepared them for weapons that operated outside the normal laws of physics. Captain Li Wu-jin stood on the bridge of the Resilience, watching the results of the first volley. His expression was calm, but there was satisfaction in his eyes. This was exactly what the simulations had predicted. The alien ships had been arranged in perfect formation for conventional weapons, but their positioning made them sitting ducks for exotic physics attacks. Excellent. Shooting Han Jae-sung, he said. Target analysis of the remaining vessels. Han Jae-sung was already working at his weapon controls. Sir, the remaining 6 ships are moving into defensive positions. They are activating emergency shields and trying to scatter their formation. However, they are still within range of all our weapon systems. Lieutenant Commander Kim Min-ho looked up from his tactical display. Captain, the aliens are completely confused. They are sending contradictory orders to their ships. Some vessels are trying to retreat while others are attempting to regroup for another attack. Their command structure is breaking down. Dr. Song Haijin's voice came over the communication system from her laboratory. Captain, the energy absorption grid is still at full capacity from their initial attack. We have enough stored power to fire all weapons again at maximum strength. The dark matter cannons are recharging from the ship primary antimatter reactor. The antimatter reactor was another secret that the aliens had not detected. While they thought the Resilience was powered by simple fusion engines, the ship actually contained one of the most advanced power sources ever created by human science. The reactor could generate more energy than some stars by converting matter directly into pure power. Park Dian looked up from her communication station with an expression of amazement on her face. Captain, I am intercepting alien transmissions. They are calling for reinforcements from their home fleet. They are also sending reports to their high command, describing our weapons as impossible supernatural forces. What exactly are they saying? Li Wu-jin asked. They are using words that translate as magic, demon fire, and reality-breaking weapons, Park Dae-yoon replied. One of their officers just reported that we are using the anger of dead gods to power our attacks. I think we may have broken their understanding of how the universe works. Chief Engineer Choi So-young was monitoring all ship systems from the engineering section. Captain, all primary systems are functioning within normal parameters. The exotic matter containment fields are stable. The quantum weapon charging cycles are proceeding on schedule. We are ready to engage the remaining enemy vessels. Defense Coordinator Yoon Tae-min was watching the alien fleet through the long-range sensors. Sir, the enemy ships are broadcasting on multiple frequencies. They appear to be requesting instructions from someone with higher authority. I believe they are asking permission to retreat. Li Wu-jin considered this information carefully. The original mission plan had been to disable the alien fleet and send survivors back to their empire with a message. But the effectiveness of the human weapons had exceeded all expectations. The aliens were not just defeated, they were terrified. Open a channel to the remaining ships, he decided. Let us see if their commander is ready to discuss terms. The main screen lit up with the image of War Master Thek Vor. The alien commander looked nothing like the confident warrior who had demanded Earth's surrender an hour earlier. His golden scales had darkened to a dull brown color. His four eyes were wide, with shock and fear. His claws were trembling as he gripped the edges of his command station. "Human," Captain HFY said in a voice that shook with emotion. "What manner of beings are you? How did your species develop such terrible weapons? What gods gave you the power to twist reality itself?" Li Wujin smiled, but it was not a cruel smile. It was the smile of someone who had just proven an important point. "War Master HFY, we are exactly what we told you we were. We are humans from the third planet of this star system. We developed these weapons the same way we developed everything else. We studied, we experimented, we failed, we learned, and we tried again. That is impossible," HFY protested. "Your species is primitive. Your technology is centuries behind our own. No civilization develops such advanced weapons without first mastering conventional physics. That is where you made your mistake," Li Wujin replied. "You assume that technological development follows predictable paths. You assume that all species advance in the same way your species did. But humans do not follow predictable paths, War Master. We jump around. We skip steps. We find solutions that should not work but do." "Anyway," the human captain paused, and his expression became more serious. "Your empire has conquered 17 star systems by being stronger and more advanced than your enemies. But you made one critical error. You assumed that advancement always means bigger ships and more powerful conventional weapons. You never considered that advancement might mean finding completely new ways to fight." Our four eyes stared at the human captain in a mixture of fear and fascination. "How," he whispered. "How did you learn to break the laws of physics themselves?" "We did not break any laws," Li Wujin explained. "We simply learned." War Master HFY, our four eyes blazed with desperate fury as he stared at the human captain on his screen. Half of his fleet was gone, destroyed by weapons that should not exist. His remaining ships were damaged and demoralized. His crew was whispering about supernatural forces and impossible technologies. But he was still a Corvani warrior, and surrender was not in his vocabulary. "Never," he snarled at the human captain. The image of Li Wujin looked back at him with calm confidence. "You may have destroyed 6 of my ships with your trickery, but we still outnumber you. The Corvani Empire has never retreated from battle. We will not start now." HFY turned to address his remaining ship commanders over the fleet communication network. "All vessels, this is your War Master. The humans have shown us new weapons, but they are still just 1 ship against 6. We are warriors of the Empire. We do not flee from battle, no matter how strange the enemy weapons may be." The other 5 dreadnought commanders appeared on smaller screens around the main display. Some looked confident, while others seemed uncertain. All of them had just watched half their fleet disappear in ways that violated their understanding of physics. But they were professional military officers who had sworn oaths to fight for their empire. Commander Jexnal of the ship Stellar Fury spoke first. "War Master, our weapon systems are still functional. Our shields are at full power. If we attack from multiple directions simultaneously, we may be able to overwhelm their defenses." Commander Burrowketh of the ship Void nodded in agreement. "War Master, the humans surprised us with unknown technology. But surprise only works once. Now that we know they have exotic weapons, we can adapt our tactics accordingly." HFY felt some of his confidence returning. These were veteran commanders who had fought dozens of battles. They were right that surprise was a weapon that could only be used once. Now that the humans had revealed their capabilities, the Corvani could develop countermeasures. "All ships attack. Pattern Omega," he commanded. "Spread out maximum dispersal. Do not give them concentrated targets. Hit them from 6 different angles simultaneously. Even if their weapons can destroy us one at a time, they cannot." War Master HFY sat in his damaged command chair, staring at the wreckage floating around his ship. 12 of the most powerful warships in the Corvani Empire had been reduced to twisted metal and debris in less than an hour. His crew moved quietly through the darkened corridors, speaking in whispers as if they were afraid the humans might hear them and decide to finish what they had started. The flagship Devourer of Worlds was running on emergency power only. Life support was functioning, but barely. The main engines were offline. The weapon systems were destroyed. The communication arrays were damaged, but still operational. HFY realized that the humans had deliberately left his ship in exactly this condition, helpless but alive. Defeated, but able to carry word of what had happened, Sub-Commander Veltar approached his commander with a damage report. His silver scales had turned completely white, which was a sign of extreme shock among his species. "Warmaster," he said in a voice that trembled with emotion. "Final casualty reports are complete. We lost 11 ships and over 50,000 crew members. The Resilience could have destroyed us all, but they chose to spare our flagship. Why?" HFY asked. "Why did they let us live? I believe they want us to deliver a message," Veltar replied. The human captain said as much during his final transmission. HFY activated the communication system with one of his remaining functional claws. The main screen flickered to life, showing the image of Captain Li Wujin standing calmly on the bridge of his impossible ship. The human looked exactly as composed as he had at the beginning of the battle. It was as if destroying the most powerful fleet in Corvani history was just another routine task for him and his crew. "Warmaster," Li Wujin said with what sounded like genuine respect, "I want to make sure you understand the message you will be carrying back to your empire. This is important not just for the future of our species, but for the future of this entire galaxy." HFY nodded weakly. "I am listening, human. First Li Wujin continued. "Earth is not interested in conquest or domination. We do not want to rule other worlds or enslave other species. We have no desire to build an empire or expand our territory. We are content to remain in our own star system and develop our civilization in peace." The alien commander found this hard to believe. Every advanced species he had ever encountered wanted to expand and conquer. It was the natural way of things. Strong civilizations grew by taking resources from weaker ones. That was how the universe worked. Second Li Wujin said, "We will not be conquered or enslaved by others. Any fleet that comes to our system with hostile intent will meet the same fate as yours. We have weapons your scientists cannot understand and defenses your military cannot penetrate. We are prepared to defend ourselves against any threat." "What if our empire sends 100 ships?" HFY asked. "What if we bring 1,000 warships to overwhelm your defenses?" Li Wujin smiled, but it was not a threatening smile. It was the patient smile of a teacher explaining something to a slow student. "Warmaster, you still do not understand what you have encountered here today. Numbers are irrelevant when fighting humans. Conventional tactics do not work against species that refuse to follow conventional rules." The human captain paused to let this information sink in before continuing. "Your empire has conquered 17 star systems by using superior firepower and larger fleets. You overwhelm your enemies with brute force and advanced technology, but humans are different. We do not fight fair. We do not follow predictable patterns. We adapt and innovate and improvise until we find solutions that should not work but do anyway." Communication. Officer Park Dian looked up from her station. "Captain, I am intercepting communication traffic throughout this sector of space. Word of the battle is spreading rapidly. Multiple species are requesting information about human capabilities. Let them ask," Li Wujin replied. "Transparency is our friend right now. The more species that know about our defensive capabilities, the fewer will be tempted to test them." Dr. Song Haijin's voice came over the internal communication system. "Captain, the energy analysis of the alien weapons is complete. Their technology is approximately 200 years more advanced than what we were using 50 years ago, but they are following predictable development paths. They make bigger versions of existing weapons instead of inventing completely new ones. That brings me to the third part of our message," Li Wujin said, turning back to the alien commander. "Your empire assumes that technological advancement follows logical, orderly progression. You build upon existing knowledge in careful steps. This approach works well for most species, but it has a critical weakness. What weakness? The HFY asked. It makes you predictable, Li Wujin explained. When we studied your military technology, we could see exactly where your development was heading. We knew what kinds of weapons you would build and what kinds of defenses you would create. So we developed countermeasures for technologies you have not even invented yet. Chief Engineer Choi So-young added her voice to the conversation. War Master, your plasma cannons are exactly what our scientists predicted you would be using based on your current technology level. Your gravitic torpedoes follow standard physics principles that we mastered decades ago. Your ion disruptors are sophisticated, but they operate within normal electromagnetic parameters. But your weapons, like VOR said, they violate everything we know about physics. No, Li Wujin corrected. They operate according to physics principles that your species has not discovered yet. Every weapon we used against you follows natural laws. We simply learned to use laws that exist beyond the conventional electromagnetic and gravitational forces. Lieutenant Commander Kim Min-ho looked up from his tactical station. Captain, long-range sensors are detecting multiple alien fleets changing course away from this star system. Word of the battle results is causing a significant shift in regional military positioning. Excellent, Li Wujin said. Fear is a much more effective deterrent than actual violence. If other species decide to avoid conflict with humanity that serves everyone's interest, Defense Coordinator Yoon Tae-min was monitoring communications across dozens of alien frequencies. Sir, I'm picking up requests for diplomatic contact from several species. They want to establish peaceful relations with Earth. Some are offering trade agreements and cultural exchanges. Also excellent, Li Wujin replied. We would welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations. That brings me to the fourth and final part of our message, War Master. Yes. The HFY said, any species that comes to our system in peace will be welcomed as friends. Li Wujin continued. We are interested in trade, cultural exchange, and scientific cooperation. We want to learn from other civilizations and share our knowledge with them. But this cooperation must be voluntary and mutual. What do you mean by voluntary? The HFY asked. I mean that we will not force other species to adopt our technology or our way of life, Li Wujin explained. We will not demand tribute or submission, or acknowledgement of human superiority. We simply want to be left alone to develop our civilization while maintaining friendly relations with our neighbors. Weapons. Officer Han Jae-sung turned from his station. Captain, the alien flagship is requesting permission to begin repairs and depart the system. Their engines are offline, but they have enough emergency power to reach the nearest Corvani outpost. Grant them permission, Li Wujin said. Also provide them with emergency supplies if they need them. We want them to reach home safely so they can deliver our message. The HFY stared at the human captain in amazement. You would help us after we attacked your world, of course, Li Wujin.